ॐ नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Welcome to Jnana Yoga. In the last session we saw the lecture The Cosmos, the Macrocosm, delivered by Swami Vivekananda in New York. The second part, so to say, of that lecture could be this 12th chapter of Jnana Yoga. It is titled The Cosmos, the Microcosm, which was again delivered in New York. Swamiji starts this lecture with the theme that human beings have always searched for the ultimate truth, first in the external world, and then failing to find the truth in the external world, have turned within. He says, with higher state of civilization, human beings turn from external search to internal search. Is there anything permanent in this evanescent human life? Does all end with death? These are eternal questions. And Swamiji says that this question was answered thousands of years ago, and the answer has to be restated, re-illustrated, put into simple words so that each human being grasps it. He is referring to the answer given by the ancient Indian rishis. Then he narrates the process by which human beings get the knowledge from the external world. To obtain knowledge of the external world, all the elements in the following chain has to function perfectly. The sense world is grasped by the external sense instruments in the body. Then the internal sense centers located in the brain recognize that sense input. Still, the process of knowledge is not complete. The mind has to coordinate these sense impressions. The intellect has to analyze the thing, and still the process of knowledge is not complete, because all the aspects involved in this process up till now, that is the external sense world, the external sense instruments in the body like external eye, ear, nose, etc., and the corresponding internal sense centers like the center of vision, center of hearing in the brain, the mind which coordinates all these sense inputs, and the intellect which analyzes them. These are all inert by themselves. What gives them light is the human soul. So ultimately, all the knowledge is because of the luminous human soul. That is the process by which all external knowledge is gained. Intelligence, luminosity is in the human soul and not in the gross world, gross body, or even the subtle body, that is the mind. Knowledge, existence, bliss are not qualities of soul, they are the essence. Then Swamiji narrates how time is also in the soul. When the soul reflects its power on the mind and mind thinks, then time arises. If we analyze what time is, then we will see that the ever luminous human soul thinks, or the thoughts emanate from it, and the light of the soul reflected on this thought is the time. Based on the above analysis, it would be easy to take up the idea of reincarnation. So Swamiji brings in the idea of reincarnation. This is relevant because we are discussing the microcosm, that is the human personality and human soul. Swamiji says, sometimes people get frightened at the idea, that is the idea of reincarnation. And superstition is so strong that thinking men even believe that they are the outcome of nothing. And then, with the grandest logic, try to deduce the theory that although they have come out of zero, they will be eternal ever afterwards. Those that come out of zero will certainly have to go back to zero. Neither you nor I nor anyone present has come out of zero, nor will go back to zero. We have been existing eternally and will exist, and there is no power under the sun or above the sun which can undo your or my existence or send us back to zero. Then even Swamiji says that reincarnation idea is the most essential for moral well-being of human race, because it puts the burden of good and evil on the individual soul. The memory objection against reincarnation is very weak and can easily be countered. We do not recall many memories in life. This does not prove that we did not exist then. Swamiji says it is simply unmitigated nonsense to say that our existence depends on our remembering it. Suppose we forget some incidents in our childhood. Does that mean that we didn't exist at that time? So just because we don't remember our past life doesn't mean that we didn't exist in the past birth. And also it is possible to remember past lives, and many yogis have known it. So there is a proof. And that is how birth after birth the human soul passes. And finally in the last life, in which the soul attains moksha, that is liberation from transmigration, the soul gets the memory of all past lives, and then alone one gets perfect detachment. One understands then that all of it, the entire series of births and deaths and the world, was a dream. Swamiji says, are there any arguments, any rational proofs for this reincarnation of the soul? So far we have been giving the negative side, showing that the opposite arguments to disprove it are not valid. Are there any positive proofs? There are. The most valid ones too. No other theory except that of reincarnation accounts for the wide divergence that we find between man and man in their powers to acquire knowledge. First, let us consider the process by means of which knowledge is acquired. Now, we have seen how the sense input comes, and the mind and intellect, and then it is detected by the human soul. But Swamiji then explains what do you mean by we have knowledge. All our knowledge comes from arranging sense perceptions into earlier recognized memory patterns. He says, when not finding the cognates of an impression, we become dissatisfied. This state of mind is called ignorance. That is, if we have seen earlier a cow and that is stored in our memory, then next time when we see a cow, the sense impression brought in by the senses about cow matches with the previous pattern, and then we are satisfied. But if we don't find anything corresponding to the sense input in the memory, then we are dissatisfied. That is called ignorance. So it is clear that no child is born with empty slate. He or she has a fund of impressions which enable him or her to acquire knowledge. Then Swamiji gives the example how even animals are afraid of death. Where does that fear of death come from? That knowledge of dying must be somewhere there in the soul, so it is afraid to die. So this is the positive argument in favor of reincarnation. If we say that the fear of death is instinct, that instinct is just a word. What does instinct mean? Swamiji explains instinct is a degeneration of voluntary actions. It is a degeneration of will. At some point of time, it was a voluntary action. Then it degenerated below the conscious level, and that is what is known as instinct. Then Swamiji says, applying the law of involution and evolution that we have seen in the previous lecture of Macrocosm, we see that instinct is involved reason. That is, in the last chapter we saw that the entire universe consists of involution, evolution, a repeated cycle of involution and evolution. That which was the infinite intelligence got involved into the forms. As forms evolved into the perfect man, the involved intelligence was remanifested. So applying the same logic, we can say that what we know now as an instinct, instinctively the animal acts or the human being acts, but that must be earlier reason which is now involved into the process and known as instinct. Then the last argument against reincarnation of soul is that the transmission of past impression could be heredity. and through hereditary transmission or ancestry, it could be said that they are transmitted and no need to put them into human soul. Swamiji says partly this is true as far as gross body is concerned, but what about the mental impressions? To say that mental impressions are recorded in matter in some bioplasmic cell is absurd and against observed facts. It is the soul which carries all impressions and manufactures suitable body for manifesting the impressions. It seeks those parents which can furnish the suitable gross body. Swamiji shows that how absurd is this idea of characteristics coming entirely through hereditary transmission. He says the same parents may have a number of children. Then from this theory of hereditary transmission, where the impressions and the impress, that is to say the material, are one, it rigorously follows that by the birth of every child, the parents must lose a part of their own impressions. Or if the parents should transmit the whole of their impressions, then after the birth of the first child, their minds would be a vacuum. So this is an absurd theory. The matter alone cannot be explained as a medium for transmission of the mental impressions, because that would mean that then birth of children, the parents would become empty. So reincarnation is the carrying of impressions by the soul. So soul moves from one body to other body depending on what kind of actions and thought it has done. So from lower bodies to higher bodies, sometimes again to lower bodies, like that, unless the soul realizes its real nature as infinite pure consciousness bliss and becomes free. Reincarnation is the one theory which does not put blame for our weaknesses on others or God or world or fate or anything else. It asks us to be responsible for ourselves. God's mercy is on all alike. It is we who can accept it or refuse it. Swamiji says we make our own destiny. That is God's sun shines for weak as well as for the strong. His wind blows for saint and sinners alike. He is the Lord of all, the Father of all, merciful and impartial. Do you mean to say that He, the Lord of creation, looks upon the petty things of our life in the same light as we do? What a degenerate idea of God that would be. We are like little puppies, making life and death struggles here and foolishly thinking that even God Himself will take it as seriously as we do. He knows what puppies play means. Then Swamiji continues, this is the only solution of the problem, that is the reincarnation. Those that blame others, and alas, the number of them is increasing every day, are generally miserable with helpless brains. Blame none for your own faults. Stand upon your own feet and take the whole responsibility upon yourself. Say, this misery that I am suffering is of my own doing, and that very thing proves that it will have to be undone by me alone. That which I created, I can demolish. That which is created by someone else, I shall never be able to destroy. Therefore, stand up, be bold, be strong. Take the whole responsibility on your own shoulders, and know that you are the creator of your own destiny. So essentially in this chapter, Swamiji explained the microcosm primarily with the help of reincarnation idea, and also proved that the objection to this theory are not that strong. And in fact there are many supporting arguments. Also it is the theory which puts the whole responsibility on ourselves, and we do not have to blame others. Next, Swamiji will be taking the chapter, the topic of which is immortality. Om Tat Sat.